I'm John Mercure, excited to have a discussion with the superintendent. He is David Muñoz. David, always good to catch up. Thanks for having us.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you too. There's some exciting, fun stuff we're going to talk about. I love this. This is stuff that's good for the community. It's a lot of work for you and your team. But let's dive into this. The community center and Riverside, a possible expansion. Looks like this is going to happen. Let's start with, tell us about the expansion and what this would entail.
Yeah, this was explored last year. There's a lot of levels to this that make it work well for not just for CE and Rec and Riverside, but also for the taxpayers. So this is all made possible by a process called defeasance. So what that is essentially prepaying old debt. So because we're moving into that process of prepaying old debt, it creates room for us to increase the levy on the community service side, but still keep the mill rate decreasing. And the needs at Community Ed and Rec, it's just become much more active. So many more people, so many more citizens in the village are utilizing that facility. And right now it's multi-level. And you know, and it kind of bleeds into some of the spaces over at Riverside. And we have some space needs at Riverside. So we're taking the opportunity to expand CE and Rec, create an additional gym and indoor walking path for our citizens that can be used anytime because it's no longer to be connected to Riverside. Adding an additional gym to the school district and the community, which is going to be immediately filled up with activity. But I know pickleball will be a big, it's already a big item at CE and Rec, but that will certainly be an item in this new facility. So we're excited about it because there's a lot of levels to it. But the Riverside and the current crossover between CE and Rec and Riverside, I don't think they intended for this to happen 20 years ago whenever CE and Rec was built. But it's just Riverside is the one building where we have some overcrowding issues. We can address that by actually building into CE and Rec, spending about $600,000 out of the general fund in order to refit classrooms and shift some things around, make it a better space for students, and completely separate, community groups and community services. And it's actually going to allow us to expand our community services during the day, because right now, for example, our gym can't be used for the community during the day because students are using it. Well, we're no longer going to have that issue, and
because we'll have a whole new gym.
We have a whole new gym that'll be completely disconnected or space disconnected from Riverside Elementary. So we're excited about it, and it's about an $8 million project.
Big project.
And there's no debt. We're not creating any debt.
People aren't paying more taxes because of the mill rate and the defeasance.
Yep, the mill rate, the defeasance, and we're creating no debt.
What's the timeline?
Well, if we're going to have a presentation at the school board actually this Monday, and then after that, there'll be final approval hopefully in May. So the timeline is pretty tight for approval, but then you have to start going out to bid and doing all those sorts of things that all these contractors and services and architects and all the different people. So the timeline really would be hopefully breaking ground in the spring of 25 and then having that hopefully done by the end of that year.
That's pretty fast.
That's a general timeline. Like I said, that's only a general timeline. That really depends on materials, what things are these days. But with the increased price in materials and all these sorts of things. But we're excited about the project because it doesn't create any debt. It does not require a referendum, and it's made possible because of this process called defeasance, which we explored last year, meaning it was explored before I got here, but it didn't make financial sense. So I give a lot of credit to our business team, Mrs. Wendler and her business team. It's just a very wise financial thing because there's $3.3 million in interest savings by doing this.
That's a big number.
$3.3 million in interest savings due to the defeasance. And we're shortening that loan. Which loan? It's from past referendums. You take out a referendum, usually you take out a 20-year note. So we're shortening that note, prepaying some debt, and then saving the taxpayers over 12 years, $3.3 million in interest. So
and the community wins and the district wins.
We're excited about the prospects. So we had a committee presentation that was very broad and complex, multiple hours. So we'll have a Titan presentation for the whole community, actually at the middle school auditorium this Monday.
That's great stuff. David Muñoz is with us. I want to ask you about something else. You have some sketches here, some photographs actually. People talk about real estate in the district, and I know one of the things you take very seriously is the real estate we have and how that should be used in the future. And there's been discussion around 2 big plots of land that the district owns. Where are we at? What's the discussion look like for those plots?
Yeah, in our strategic planning process, we actually came up, and we're at the end stages. We should be ready to roll out our new strategic plan within the next few months. We developed some pillars, and there's one of the pillars of 4, obviously students and communities, our employees, families, but one big pillar is, of course, our finances and our facilities. So one thing that came up in strategic planning are these 2 plots of land. One is the old TJ's Hiawatha property, pretty close here, but also 45 acres over off of Menominee Avenue. So that's what these depictions are. This came up in our steering committee discussions, and there's going to be further discussions coming out of the strategic plan about what are people's desires with this property. We're holding on to some of the largest buildable, and that's mostly all buildable property. So we're holding on to it as a school district. Before me, it was purchased or owned. I mean, this is our property. And all that's on any of this property is a ball field over here in the corner. The rest of it is
open.
I would continue to want more suggestions and feedback. So there's going to be some committee work with that comes out of that. Perhaps more opportunities for feedback. I'd be interested in, what you have to say about that, or what. Anybody who's from around here in the village, what are your thoughts about this property, big picture?
And in the meantime, this is great investment. So we hold it until your team comes up with a plan. It continues to increase in value. There isn't much buildable land of this size in the village, especially right in our district. In other parts of the Falls there are, but in our district, this is a valuable resource.
Yeah, it actually came up one of my first months or 2 in the district. I was at an Optimist Club meeting, and somebody was asking, well, what about all this land over here and over there? And rightfully so, there was somebody from the village there who works for the village, and he pointed at me. And of course, I was here a month or so, and they were like, well, he's the guy to talk to, it's his land. And I'm like, no, it's the community's land. But it was a valid redirection. And actually, it's something that came out of the strategic plan. That's one of the pieces that'll come out of the strategic plan is, let's get a plan for this in the next couple of years. Let's get a detailed, long-range plan for these 45 acres off Menominee Avenue, but also the old TJ's Hiawatha property right here, all within the school district, and all mostly buildable land.
I love having the discussion. For more information on the topics we've discussed, the best way is to check out the district website. It's updated regularly. Go to the website. You can find calendars, information, everything there. David Muñoz is the superintendent. Always good to catch up. Thank you so much for the discussion.
Thank you.